What's going on, y'all? Got a little bit different of a video today. Kind of changing up the tone. Usually I'm super upbeat and, trying to get you all excited about remote training. But today I kind of wanted to make a little bit more of a serious video. Because to be honest, to most of you guys, I'm just a stranger out there on the internet. You have no clue about me. And so in today's video, I'm going to be kind of pulling back the curtain in terms of who I am, where I come from, the things that I've done, my successes, my failures. I got a bunch of notes up here, so if you see me peeking up there, it's because I'm trying to make sure that I stay on topic. But this could be a super long video. It could be shorter than I think, but really just want to tell you my full story from front to back, so you can kind of get to know me a little bit more, and just trying to talk to you guys like you're already my friends, like you already understand me, and maybe you are my friend right now, and you just don't know a whole lot about me. So if this is your first time here, my name is Nick. I run an online consulting company where I help baseball coaches achieve time and financial freedom through online training without having to give a split of their money to their boss or sacrificing the results of their athletes, etc., etc. But obviously, I'll plug my program. If you want to know more about my program, check out the main video on my channel or DM me on Instagram, whatever. The results speak for themselves. But like I said, in today's video, I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about me, where I'm from, kind of what I've been through. And to be honest with you, when I was writing out these notes, I was surprised with how far I've come, because when you're in the moment, or when you look at your own story, you almost never, at least for me, I almost never give myself enough credit for what I've done or what I've been able to accomplish or the people I've met or whatever, right? And look back, and I've been through a lot. On the surface level, it seems like I've had a pretty easy life, but hopefully by the end of this video, if you stay to the end, you get to know me a little bit more. You kind of see what I'm about, and maybe you see me less as that guy who's just money hungry on social media trying to make a quick buck, and somebody who's actually, a super hard worker and really cares about, everybody, and really just wants to make a difference. So I'll start at the beginning and kind of tell you my whole story. So, my whole life I've kind of felt like a little bit of an outsider, I'm not going to lie. I was born in Arlington, Virginia, at home. My parents used to sleep when we lived in Arizona. My parents used to sleep in the bed that I was born in. And a week after I was born, I ended up in the hospital with jaundice. So ironically enough, my mom wanted to stay away from the hospital, and yet a week later, there I was. Hold on, let me try and get centered. That's going to bother me. But yeah, my mom, didn't want me to be born in the hospital. She thought she could keep us out of it. And a week later, I end up in the hospital with jaundice. So we were living in Arlington, Virginia at the time, because my dad was in between jobs. He used to work for quote unquote the foreign service, although looking back, I'm not sure how much I believe that. But we moved to Guatemala City a few months after I was born, and my first language was Spanish. I spoke English with a Spanish accent. I don't really speak Spanish today, unfortunately, because when I was 3 years old, we moved to Beijing, China. And when I was in China, I still, have pretty fond memories and remember so much about that experience. But I went to a Western school with people from all over the world, and learned a ton there. Didn't really learn any Chinese, unfortunately, Mandarin, and forgot all my Spanish. So, I guess my first 6 years of my life were a wash. But my dad didn't want to work with the U.S. government anymore for whatever reason. And so he got a job still in government, but at the local level in Nogales, Arizona. So when I was 6, moved to Sahaurita, Arizona. And, it was my first taste of living in the United States. I still remember, the house, and we had a pool and we had a couple dogs, like I guess kind of the American dream. And I remember my first day of school in the United States. It was first grade. Everyone gets up, at the start of the school day, and they all start saying the same stuff. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it was the Pledge of Allegiance. I didn't know the Pledge of Allegiance, and felt like a weirdo, felt like an outsider, and I guess that was kind of like a theme of, my life. But when I was 8 years old, my dad got a job outside of politics with a school called Thunderbird Global School of Management. And he was traveling to and from Phoenix, while we lived in Sahaurita every weekend. And if you know where Sahaurita is, it's like maybe 30 minutes north of the US-Mexico border. And Phoenix is like maybe a 2.5 hour, 2 hour drive away. So he was moving back and forth, and eventually my whole family moved up to Cave Creek, Arizona, which is maybe, 30, 45 minutes north of Phoenix. And it's the place that I lived the longest at, and where I have probably my fondest memories, where, I remember my childhood, riding bikes and like kind of being like a desert kid, but I also remember having a really, really good group of friends. And I remember going to tournaments all over the Phoenix Valley, playing football, baseball, soccer. Like I did it all, and except maybe basketball. I have a terrible jump shot to this day, and I think my dad never put me in basketball because he's not even 5'10". I'm barely 6 feet tall. I hit the genetic lottery, right? But I never, I never played basketball. But I grew to really enjoy Cave Creek, and I thought it was going to be my home. I after kind of moving around a lot, I never really knew what home was, and got connected with a pretty well-known travel team now by the name of T-Rex. Got really involved with, all the families there, made a bunch of really good friends. And honestly, like that really, really cultivated my confidence. I felt like I was one of the best players in the state for my age. And, I felt like I could honestly walk on water. I was the best at pretty much everything I did. And I was used to being that good. School was easy for me. Making friends was easy for me. Life was just kind of easy for me. And it always had been up until that point. Even though I moved, I still felt like an outsider always. I still felt like I was way different. But life was still pretty easy. I could make changes with ease. And so halfway through my freshman year of high school, my dad tells me that, he asked me after practice one day. It was like an optional day on the weekend. There was like varsity guys there. I was a freshman. I was one of two freshmen on the JV team. Woo woo, go me. But halfway through my freshman year of high school, my dad told me, he asked me like, hey, you like it here? And I was like, yeah, I really like it here. Why? He goes, well, what would you say if we moved? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't really have control over that. He's like, I got a job in Virginia, and he got a job at George Mason University. And I said goodbye to my life in Arizona, my friends, my life, everything. And when I got to Virginia, I'll never forget it, July 13th, 2012, my whole life changed. So my dad, for those of you guys that know me, all three of you, my dad still plays men's baseball to this day. He is 27 years old, still goes hard, has torn his hamstring multiple times, tore his bicep, has shoulder problems, but he doesn't care. He's crazy. I love him, right? But that's kind of where I get my crazy from, I think. But he was playing in an adult baseball league, and he took a pitch to the face and broke his orbital bone right here. And I'll never forget the way that he looked when I first saw him. It was like, seeing like your idol, right? Like I looked up to this guy so much, and for lack of a better term, like his face was fucked up. Like his eye was all red and like bloodshot and like blood in the eye. And I almost remember seeing like shame in his face because he didn't want his 15-year-old son to see him in such a weak position. And for context, my dad is trilingual, English, Spanish, Mandarin, Chinese, all self-taught. Well, I guess not self-taught, right? He went through intensive programs. He used to work for the U.S. government. I'm pretty sure he was a CIA agent or something like that. He competed in a bodybuilding show in Guatemala. He graduated summa cum laude from his private high school in New York with, people that were heirs to the Disney fortune. Comes from super humble beginnings. grandma was a school teacher. Dad worked for my grandpa worked for the telephone company. He still cleans out people's houses to this day because he can't stop working, just like, your boy. But my dad set tons of records there in terms of basketball and baseball. And he went to a private liberal arts school called Carleton College. He was a National Merit Scholar in high school. And he's been the chief of staff for George Mason University and Georgia Tech University. And he just got the president's job at Millsaps University in Jackson, Mississippi. So this is a guy who is incredibly capable, has accomplished so much, was about to be a Marine before he went into foreign service, interviewed with the CIA, like, dude's legit, right? And I remember like going to my baseball games when I was like 12 years old, and my dad would do sprints during the game, like crazy, like a freight train. People would be like, what's wrong with your dad? I'm like, fuck, I don't know. What is wrong with my dad? Like, if that's my dad, what's wrong with me? But, to see my dad so broken, so upset, that really, really changed me. And I was living in Virginia. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have much going on. I couldn't drive and I didn't know what to do. So all I did was play video games that whole summer. Didn't work out, didn't work much on baseball, didn't really do anything. But I'll never forget, in August of 2012, I wrote on a piece of paper to make baseball my job. This is a month after I moved there. We were living in a townhouse at the time. And I listed out everything that I was going to do to make my dreams a reality. I said, I'm going to play on I'm going to start on Lake Braddock's varsity team this spring. And I'm going to play at a top 40 D1 school. And I'm going to make baseball my job. But as many of you know, if you don't practice baseball, you start to suck at it. So played in a few tournaments, like my swing was gone. Like I went from feeling like I could literally hit everything. Like I was a really, really good hitter when I was 14, and something changed in those 2 months. And I don't know what. And it really killed my confidence. And I didn't have any friends. I felt like an outcast in my friend group. Just moved to a new school. I was 15. Had no confidence just in general because I was 15. But my entire sophomore year was a roller coaster of a year, and I struggled super, super hard with my identity. I felt like I didn't have any true friends, and honestly, I did everything I could to morph to fit in with everybody else. I did end up starting every game at second base for Lake Braddock, who I think we had like 15 plus guys play D1 baseball out of the program just from that specific year. But I didn't really play very well until the end of the year, until the regional tournament where I absolutely went off. And I'll never forget, my dad, after the regional championship, came up to me and shook my hand. And he had like tears in his eyes. And I've never seen my dad like so proud of me. And like, if you know my dad, he's like, doesn't show any emotion for anything. So that was like the most like swelled up with pride I think I'd ever felt. And I tried to act like I didn't care, but like looking back, like that was really cool. But even after such a roller coaster of a year, I played with the Evo Show Canes that summer, their North team. I played center field or right field basically every single game. And we came in second place in the 16U WWBA in Atlanta, but I didn't get any offers. Talked to some schools here and there. But at the end of the summer, I got pulled up to the national team. And then in the fall, I was playing with the national team. And it was super cool. Went to Jupiter, played on the first team Evo Shield. Was one of the first people to swing an Evo Shield bat. If you go to the Evo Shield Instagram, there's like a picture of me on their Instagram back from like 2013 maybe. Yeah, you can go find it if you look hard enough, or you can look at my tagged photos on my Instagram, but it's still there. But I got no offers, like not even from like small mid-majors or local ones or anything. And after getting no offers, and I hit leadoff. Like once I started playing for that Canes national team, I hit leadoff every single game. And I got no offers, and everyone around me was committed to, South Carolina, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech. It was crazy, and I wasn't getting any offers. And so my dad asked me about reclassifying. And I didn't really know what it was. And to be honest with you, I did it because I thought that's what he wanted me to do. But I was already young for my grade, and I missed out on a whole year of recruiting, and I felt like I was good enough to play at a school like South Carolina, North Carolina, and I felt like that was probably the best option for me if I wanted to play at a school like that. Looking back, I just didn't have the tools. But, you know, after some research, we decided that I was going to go to IMG Academy for a post-grad year, a 5th year of high school. And, you know, I went into that winter like, okay, I'm going to play for the national team right off the rip, the 16 national team right off the rip. Like, I'm going to make this happen. And so I came out that spring with something to prove, and I put on 15 pounds of muscle that off season. I guess, I don't know, 15 pounds of muscle, but I put on 15 pounds, got way stronger, way faster. Dude, I hit every single day. It didn't matter if it rained, if it snowed, nothing. Like, nothing was going to stop me, and this is really the start of like my work ethic. And I came out of the gate red hot. I was like hitting 500, 600, something like that in the middle of the season. Went to the showcase on a Sunday right after we played our rival on Saturday. Hit a bomb, went 2 for 4, pretty good game, whatever. Went to the showcase, and I was hitting in the cage, and I was raking, and somebody was like, oh, dude, what team do you play for? I was like, oh, 16U National, like with pride, you know? He's like, oh, that makes sense, bro. Like, you're really good. I was like, oh, yeah, like this guy thinks I'm good. That's cool. And I was getting ready for my turn to hit. I'm shagging in the outfield, and, you know, some guy hits a ball over my head, and I'm talking to the guy next to me, and I'm kind of just like lollygagging after it, and boom, I just ran into the fence. And I remember trying to get up, and it felt like my ankle was rolled really bad. But I didn't know what happened, and we ended up going to urgent care. I didn't get to hit in the showcase, and I broke my fibula in 2 places. And I ended up missing the rest of my high school season. I was hitting like 512, I think I wrote down here. 512 with only 2 strikeouts through 13 games. So it was like, I was red hot, right? So I missed the rest of the year. I'll never forget when the doctor told me that it was broken and that I'd be out 6 to 8 weeks. And I just started crying because I felt like after everything that had, you know, transpired the year before, like I was just going through such mental struggles, finally felt like, you know, baseball wasn't who I was, and turns out it totally was because it crushed me. And when I came back that summer, I just wasn't the same player. My swing was off. I was a little timid. I was slow. My legs still hurt when I started playing again. But I still went that whole summer and fall hitting the 2-hole, playing right field for the Evo Showcane 16 national team. And I got no offers. And that sucked. Because here I am reclassing to, you know, get an offer to a big school, and nobody pulled the trigger. So at the end of the year, the Canes tell me I'm not going to be on the national team because I wasn't committed. I could still come to the big tournaments with the team, you know, Jupiter, Arizona, all like the big tournaments, or I guess PG World Series is in Florida now, but like, you know, the WWBA, like Atlanta, stuff like that. They said I could come to the big tournaments with them, but a guy by the name of Seth Beer was going to be playing right field for him, and he was like the best hitter in the country at the time. Then he went to Clemson, graduated early, absolutely raked. I think he's played in the show a little bit with the Astros too. So yeah, I mean, he should have been playing and not me. But anyway, I decided to switch teams and play for a team called Elite Baseball Training Chicago. And I played my full senior season at Lake Braddock with the intention of going to IMG Academy the next year. And I struggled for a lot of the year, and I wasn't even playing shortstop. I was playing second base. Even after playing outfield for all these summer teams, I wanted to be a shortstop. Because I knew that I wasn't going to have any shot at pro baseball if I wasn't. So one day I'm hitting like, you know, maybe 300 after hitting like 500 the year before, like halfway through the season. I'm hitting off the tee with my dad, and he's like, your swing sucks, like look at it. And I'm looking at it on the iPad, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Throw my bat, go sit in the grass and like next to the cage, and I just had no clue what to do. I remember thinking, like, this is when I quit baseball. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is so frustrating. And I end up starting to really pick it up. And I remember Maryland was supposed to come out and see me play. We got rained out, so they went home. Next day, we end up playing, go 4 for 4. They weren't there. And then, I ended up hitting 400 right on the dot and graduated high school at Lake Braddock with 0 Division I offers after committing to go to IMG Academy, which was $70,000. So the day after I graduated high school, I received my first Division I offer to play at Valparaiso University. It's in Indiana, Valparaiso, Indiana. I'll never forget it. And to Corey Winter, thank you so much. You're probably not watching this video, but I appreciate you because I felt like you were the only guy who actually thought I was that good. I don't know if you were just a good recruiter or what, but thank you. And I ended up getting 4 definitive offers and then one that was like, oh, if you want it, it's here. And 2 of which were preferred walk-ons to Notre Dame and Arizona State. And I chose Notre Dame for $0. And Arizona State was probably my dream school just because I grew up out here. But I say out here because I live in Scottsdale now. But I committed to Notre Dame while I was at the Perfect Game World Series in Arizona, while I was at a Chipotle. And I went to the game that night just soaring with confidence, and I got 2 hits, and it was awesome. And, fast forward to, after that summer, I was like, okay, like I'm going to go to IMG now in the fall. So my parents sold their house in Virginia and bought a smaller one and used the equity difference to pay for my schooling at IMG, $70K. And for that, I'll never be able to repay them. And this is right after they had to sell our house in Arizona for a huge loss. Like, they probably lost like $250,000 on that house. Like, they pretty much almost bankrupted themselves because of it. And they were in a really tough financial situation for a long time because of that Arizona house. So I can't thank them enough for putting me through everything. But, I went to IMG and I just wasn't in a very good headspace. I'm not going to lie. Like, I played pretty well there, and it was the first time that like I really ever played shortstop for a full season because I wanted to be a shortstop. But I didn't really know, what to expect. I would do it all over again, but I was kind of just like a bitter kid, and I don't think I made the most of it. But after I finished my 5th year at IMG, I broke up with my girlfriend. Oh, she kind of broke up with me. I kept going back to her just because I was a loser. And I stayed with Rex Gonzalez to get away, and that summer changed my life. I got to hang out with him. He runs T-Rex, and Rex, if you're watching this, I doubt you are, but thank you so much. You really, really have been a huge help to me. But when I went to Notre Dame, kind of with a clear mind, like I'm gonna win a starting job. I went to Notre Dame never having really drank, never smoked weed, nothing, and I felt like when I got there, I just had to prove myself to everybody. And so I, made sure that everyone knew that I didn't care about anything and that I was super cool. And I went out all the time, but it's really just because I was trying to fill the empty hole that was inside of me of not feeling like enough. I still won the starting job, played really well in the fall, played really well in the preseason, won the starting job. Opening day comes around, we play Lafayette College, who went like 4-50 the year before, and I went 0 for 4 with 4 punchies on opening day. Played my way out of the lineup. I got in trouble for being a distraction in study hall. Coach just lit me up after a game one day, got suspended for 2 practices and a game, and at the end of the year ended up transferring because I felt like it wasn't quote unquote for me. I didn't really get along with the coach, but at that point, like I probably wouldn't have gotten along with anybody. I had a lot of problems, had a lot of mental problems. Hold on, let me scroll on my notes here. So that brings us to summer ball, where I go to the NECBL. I hit 213 with 60 punch outs in 40 games in New Bedford. It was really bad, but I played unbelievable defense, and I learned how to pick it, and that really carried me. And so when I went to San Jac, I won the starting shortstop job somehow, and I'd never really played shortstop before besides IMG in this last summer in New Bedford. And I had tons of schools on me, but I went into the spring uncommitted, and I'm actually about to share this on YouTube. Halfway through the spring, we got hit with a random drug test. Didn't take it because I was smoking tons of pot. And I sat out for 2 weeks, and tons of schools pulled off me. And then a couple weeks after I came back from my drug test, I got in a fight with the assistant coach. He threatened to kick me off the team, said I was ungrateful and blah, 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 blah. Everything that they said about me at Notre Dame was true, that I was uncoachable and I was a piece of shit. And that really stuck with me. And somehow, some way, I get a walk-on to play at South Carolina. I turned down like 107% to go to Louisiana Tech, who went to a regional the next year in South Carolina. We won like 25 games, but I'll get there. In the summertime, after that year, still somehow scrape up a offer there. I almost failed the class. I told my parents about the drug test, and I got into a huge fight with my dad, and then I left for South Carolina like 3 days later. And I get there in the fall at South Carolina, and I'm clearly not the guy. You know, they brought in another guy who's a shortstop, could really pick it, and I was not the favorite. It was very, very obvious. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to, work my way in and start playing well, get hurt, end up playing well, or end up playing okay. And then almost fail a drug test there in the fall. Not a lot of people know about that. Even the people that know about me failing at San Jac. Almost fail a drug test at South Carolina after Thanksgiving break. Come back from winter break after hitting with, everyone under the sun. Like this whole time I'm like studying social media, like hitting Twitter, right? So like I've hit with like a lot of the, well-known people out there, or known who they were for a long time. And come back from winter break, like ready to go. And I win the starting job, and I go off opening weekend. We played Liberty, and Monday in the cage that day, I changed my swing because I thought I could be better. So stupid. And I go 0 for my first 2 on the midweek on Tuesday, and I'll never forget, my coach comes up to me in the on deck circle, and he's like, "You're back to doing your old bullshit again. You need to cut that shit out if you ever want to hit at this level." And I went like 0 for 39 after that, and I'm not blaming it on him. I just wasn't, I couldn't hear that at the time. I was too insecure. I was already messed up with my swing. I didn't know what I was doing. Got into a relationship with a girl, and it was pretty depressing. We both just kind of sat around and felt sorry for ourselves. Finished the year at 127, hitting 127, got cut, was a terrible teammate, hated my life, started taking tons of Adderall, smoked weed every day. I was not a good human being, and I don't like looking back at all that. So after I get cut, they were nice enough to help me get a temp contract in the Valley League. And I think I went 1 for 18, and on my 22nd birthday, they told me to go home and that they couldn't keep me anymore. I think Ethan Murray and Connor Norby ended up coming, and Ethan Murray was like the shortstop at Duke, and Connor Norby was like a 2nd-round pick. So obviously they're going to get rid of somebody who's like 1 for 18 and just got cut from Carolina and keep these 2 studs, right? At the same time, my girlfriend broke up with me, and if you guys know who Ian Jenkins is, he told me that after she broke up with me that she was Snapchatting other guys, and so I got over that pretty quick. But Ian is my boy for life because of that. So I had a couple offers to Mizzou, that fell through. Had an offer to VCU, that fell through. And by a stroke of luck, SIU says they want me to come play there. And they gave me a sweet offer, and so I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to keep playing, because I honestly didn't think I was going to keep playing. And after I got cut, I didn't touch a bat until I went to the Northwoods League like a month and a half later, and I played for Kalamazoo, and that break changed my life. All I was doing was smoking weed and thinking about like what I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up playing really well in Kalamazoo and falling in love with the game again, but in a different way, right? Playing it because I wanted to play it, because I realized that, look, I'm probably not going to be a big leaguer at this point. And that was the first time I'd ever had to face that reality. You know, I was a little bit delusional. And I get to SIU in the fall, and I have the absolute best time of my life. I made some lifelong friends there that I'm still very close with to this day. And shout out to Nick Magnifico. He's the hitting coach at South Alabama right now. I remember talking to him after practice one day being like, look, I just want to be like the best version of me, right? And the next year he ended up bringing that up in my face again when I was struggling. But I came out in the spring, and I was having a huge year, and I was hitting like 360, and then COVID happened, and I was like, oh shit, like my career's over. I don't know what to do. And I guess they, you know, fortunately gave us another year. And you know, after that happened, everyone went home. I stayed in Carbondale, Illinois, and smoked weed and lifted weights and drank beer because I didn't know what to do. I didn't do anything productive with my time, as a, you know, 23-year-old with nothing to do does, until I got invited to the Northwoods again, and I had a great experience there. And that's when I really started to come into my own as a man and as a leader. We had a really good coach there, Steven Cutter, so shout out you. It made me realize I could actually play pro ball. And the league gets shut down. I was with my friend Seth Halverson at the time. We both get COVID. We don't tell anybody. We leave and go to play, or we go to his house in Columbia, Missouri, and we play in the Car Shield Collegiate League. And because the whole league got shut down because like people got COVID, so like we just went to Columbia and like cooped up there, and then we ended up playing in the Car Shield Collegiate League in St. Louis, and I kind of found my passion to play pro ball again. And I get back to Southern Illinois. Things are kind of on lockdown. We can't party or anything like that, which is all I did the year before, just transparently. And what I did for most of my college career, to be honest. But we had a great team, way better than the year before. And I took baseball way more seriously. And you know, I had the confidence to be the leader and the man that I always knew I could be. And I ended up hitting 299 with 17 homers. I'll never forget, there was a ball hitting the gap, or I hit a ball in the gap, goes off the left fielder's glove. Coach goes, oh, they gave that an error. I'm going to change that to a hit. Never happened. And I hit 299 instead of 302. So thanks, Coach. No, just kidding. I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity. But I ended up breaking the single season school home run record. Was 17. It was broken the next year. But the biggest thing that I hang my hat on is the fact that we won 40 games for the first time in like 4 decades. And I felt like I had a big part in that. You know, I was a starting shortstop. I was a 3-hole, 4-hole. I became the leader, the man that I always knew I should have been, and just got better. And when that season ended, I signed with the Southern Illinois Miners like an idiot before the draft. And I quit after 10 days because I looked around and saw guys that had already had their shot and quite frankly were way better players than me. So I turned down, you know, after I quit, my coach was getting affiliate calls from teams, and I told him to tell them I'm done, that I quit baseball. I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I thought there was no way I could play in the show. I thought my swing wasn't good enough. I thought I wasn't good enough. I wasn't in the mental state. Like, I'm just going to go and embarrass myself. I'm going to leave on my own terms. And so I got a job at Kroger, and I started studying for the mortgage loan officer test, and I started studying business. I'll never forget. First book I read was What It Takes by Steve Schwartzman. And so in the fall of 2021, I move out to Scottsdale, Arizona, get a job at a mortgage bank, and, you know, I pretty much hate my life. I'm like, I guess this is life. Like, you just go to work every day. Like, this is a joke. And I hated it. So spring 22 comes around, break up with my girlfriend, do a lot of stupid stuff. You know, I'm drinking all the time, doing blow, smoking a ton of weed. And I'll never forget this. It was either the night of or the next day was my grandmother's anniversary of her death, like 8 years prior. And I drunk drove home, did a ton of stims. I don't know if it was Coke or Addy or whatever, but it was stupid. And I decided I'm done drinking until I can get control of my life. And I started studying and became a hermit. And I said, I'm going to do me. I'm going to focus on me. And I started getting really into fitness. And you know, in the summertime and in the fall, I was like, I'm going to do online fitness. And this is kind of when the story gets a little bit sensitive. But I connected with an old teammate from San Jac, and he told me to come over to his house. He said he was going to train guys out of the backyard. If you're on Instagram, you probably know what I'm talking about. I won't name any names, but you know, we pretty much went from zero, because he said he needed help with the business side. I said I was gonna, you know, I really wanted to help and that I would help him do sales. And then we end up saying, okay, we're gonna do this 50-50. And we went from zero to like, you know, 20K in the first month, and then like 28K, and then like 30K, and then like just crushed it. And it was crazy. And, you know, after a while we were really rolling, but it was not an even partnership. I was grinding 14 hours a day, barely even had time to eat. I was on the phone all the time. I was addicted to Adderall. There was probably a 4-month span or a 3-month span where I didn't go a day without Adderall, a 3-month span minimum. And it got to like 60 milligrams a day and like, you know, 500 milligrams of caffeine. It was disgusting. But I started seeing like, okay, like, I don't know if this is like a long-term thing, because I'm doing everything and I didn't feel like I was getting the same. So started smoking a ton of weed to get off Addy in the summer. And this is when, you know, our partnership really started to blow up, and started kind of seeing the writing on the wall, started seeing my partner not act normal anymore, and telling people that I was a snake and this and that. And I was like, okay, well, you know, you owe me a lot of money already and you take money out of the account every month. But I didn't say anything because I kind of felt trapped. We were living together, but we were doing really, really well too. And so I didn't know what to do. And pretty much the business blows up. We were supposed to have an amicable split. And then he accuses me of stealing and drains the business account, which forced me to go out on my own. And as soon as that happened, I was like, I need to get out of Scottsdale. So, and there's a lot more that happened there. He threw away all my personal stuff. Like, it was not great, okay? And kind of forced me to go out on my own, right? And I was like, I need to get out of Scottsdale. And so I go to Nashville to see an old friend. And I met up with a girl who I first DM'd during COVID and had always tried to keep in contact with. I thought she was so hot, and we ended up meeting up, and she's my girlfriend now. And that relationship is, you know, better than ever. But I get back from Nashville and I'm like super motivated. Like, I'm going to make this work. And I help a couple guys in like September of 23, and the results went crazy. And I realized that, you know, I really could do this consulting thing. And so since October of 2023, I've invested over $25,000 into myself. I've put in countless hours. I failed again and again and again. So it may seem like this business has blown up out of nowhere, or that, you know, my last business blew up out of nowhere, like making 250K in 10 months out of, you know, from zero. People are like, how did you do that? It was because of the followers or whatever, right? There are plenty of people that I know that have lots of followers that don't make nearly as much money as I did, or nearly as much money as I do now. I have 3,000 followers at this time, and I do well. And that's not to be a brag, right? But it is. I've been through the ringer, and I know what it takes. I've put in the work. And so really the main things that I've learned are, you know, I've earned everything that I've been given. I used to feel like I was never enough, and that, you know, no matter how hard I worked, I would never be enough. And I'm not crying, I'm just itching my eye. I've put in the work to get the results, and that I am enough. So if you're watching this right now and you wonder, am I enough? Outwork your self-doubt, because you can do it. You are capable. More capable than you think. The second lesson is that my biggest enemy is myself. Right? I like to put myself down. I like to be hard on myself. I like to hold myself to higher standards than other people. But it's because I think I inherently have an ego that I deserve more because of what I've been through, which is something I fight every single day. And when I try to never put that on anybody, never, 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 never. It's one of my biggest fears is my own ego. It's letting my ego get in the way of the truth. So I combat it by putting myself down, right? But the third thing that I've learned is that I can and will do everything I set my mind to. On that piece of paper, I think it was August 30th, 2012, I put start on Lake Braddock's varsity spring team, or varsity team in the spring. I did that. Played at top 40 D1 school. I did it 3 times. Play at, or make baseball my job. I was a pro baseball player. I trained baseball players for a living. And then now I help baseball coaches train baseball players for a living. And I did it. I did it. So maybe not exactly how I wanted, but I did it. So I have a crystal clear vision of what I want. So every decision is easy now. I know exactly what I want. I don't have to think twice about what I want to do. You know, I'm doing 75 hard right now just because I wanted to. I felt like it was, you know, what does 10.0 version of Nick look like? What would he do? Would he do 75 hard? Would he be able to do it? And so I did it. So I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do nicotine. I don't watch porn. I read every night. Go on walks. I work out. I take cold showers. I show up for my girlfriend. I service my clients to the best of my ability. And you may think like, wow, it's not fair that this guy is done or, you know, makes all this money and does all this stuff and lives this life. Well, I put in the work to get here. There's a reason why I am where I am, right? And so I'll challenge you watching this. Look internally before you point the finger. Why are you where you're at right now? Is it because of somebody else? Is it your parents? Is it your coach? Is it your spouse or your girlfriend? Or is it you? Because when you take full accountability for everything that happens in your life, it not only gives you full power over, okay, any failure that I have, I can fix it and I can get better. But it surges your confidence because you realize that every success you have is your doing, but so is every failure. And you can't have it any other way. So with that being said, I have just exposed myself like absolutely crazy, like absolute crazy. If you stayed to the end, I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you watching. But hopefully this gives you the courage to put yourself out there and do what I've done, because I put myself out there every single day. I get mean comments on my ads and I got to deal with clients telling me I'm not doing enough and blah, 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 right? But because I've failed, because of what I've been through, I will continue to be successful because I've been through the ringer. And I've created the dream life that I've always wanted and will continue to create it. So stay tuned for what's next for me. But hopefully this gives you a better idea about me so that I'm not so much of a stranger. Wanted to be as transparent as possible about me and my journey and what I've done. So if you're a baseball coach and you want to learn more about my consulting program, check out the main video on my channel. Book in a call with me, DM me on Instagram. All the call to actions that I teach. The main purpose of this video is not to sell my program. It's to show you that I'm a real human, that I get it, that I understand, and that I'm here to help people, and that I will stop at nothing to get results. So hope you have a great night or day or whenever you're watching this. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Absolutely kill it. We create our own reality. But until next time, peace.